many of us are self-sabotaging our own success, our own ability to rapidly grow our business. And we're putting this beautiful window dressing on it of saying it's productivity. Why am I not there? Why do I not have those results? Why do I not have that reality? Your nervous system is lying to you. You're planting seeds, patting it down, putting water on it, and 30 seconds later asking yourself, where's the plant? Certain things are going to take time. You got to let them cook. 66% of you are abandoning the thing that could literally blow up your business simply based off the fact you didn't see it through. They're like, see, it just never works. There's somebody that probably has half of the expertise that you have, half of the knowledge, and because they are faster at execution, they're winning. Inaction is always going to cost more than imperfect action. Where are you right now seeing somebody who has way more reps than you and saying, I should have their results? Are you running a business or are you reacting to one? Hello and welcome back to Ambitious. Today, we are diving into something that is probably the two sides of the business coin that you yourself have experienced, which is the fact that on one side, we're taught that progress requires patience. And so we need to be patient with our results, patient with our momentum, and to sometimes just put your head down and don't look up to assess things too quickly. But then on the contrast, we also were told that success loves speed. And so we have it should go fast and speed is the answer, but then we also have patience is the answer. And so oftentimes it can feel like that these two sides conflict and that they both feel true at the same time. And yet we don't know which one we should be focusing on. Is this a season where I just need to be patient and I need to realize that the result needs time to allow itself to develop? Or is there something that I should be expecting to see happen faster? Should my results be happening faster? And here I am saying, oh, just be patient. How do we know what's the right answer? And so that's what I want to help you to really master today, which is to understand when we look at patience and we look at speed in business, how do we know what situations warrant speed and which situations warrant patience? And is it possible that you're actually using speed when you shouldn't be or patience when you shouldn't be? I personally feel like not enough people talk about, okay, well, if what got you here won't get you there, okay, fine. Probably true. What got me to six figures won't get me to seven. What got me to seven won't get me to multiple seven. But then the question we're left with, well, then what do I need to be working on? What do I need to be doing? And so that's what I want to break down today is let's actually go deep under the hood of what it looks like to master patience while also mastering speed at the same time. And so if you're hearing this and you're thinking, I'm resonating with this because I don't even know the relationship around this, it's not because you're moving too slow and it's not because you're moving too fast. It's often because you're pressing the wrong buttons at the wrong time. That's what I see with a lot of businesses I work with is that they're not having patience or not having speed. They're, I think, integrating one or the other at a time where it isn't necessarily warranted. Meaning you're patient when you actually need to be having some aspect of urgency and of speed underneath you. And there's other times when I see people who are clearly all about urgency and it's like speed, 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 let's go, fast, fast, fast. And they recognize like you just need to be patient in this season. But again, how do we know what's right and how do we know what's wrong? So sitting, for example, on a launch that you want to do or an idea that you want to do and you're trying to refine it and you're trying to perfect it, that is a time when you've put patience in the wrong bucket. You've put patience as the wrong tier for yourself, which is why you're dragging out something that probably should have already gone out by now. On the contrast, if you launch something and you're whipping this together and then you're also panicking days out from when you released it to your audience and you're like, oh my gosh, this hasn't sold. It's also possible because you put speed in a place where it didn't belong. And so what I've reflected on myself with my business and also with a lot of the clients that I serve who are at the same level as you, who are wanting to grow their business, you want to scale, you want to tap into that next level. It's not always just about the strategy itself, but it also can be about your relationship with time in connection to that strategy. And so that's what I want to unpack today. You are probably either the person who's like white knuckling through literally everything that you do, and it kind of feels like at all times like the building is on fire. And on the other side, we've also got where you are overthinking every move until you feel like you have the perfect runway, the perfect amount of time to be able to execute on it. And so let's find the happy medium of this and finally, once and for all, give you a structure on where does patience come in and where does speed come in when we're scaling a business. Okay, so one of the first things that I love, I don't know about you, but I love you're taking those quizzes online where you feel like it's like what's your love language or like what's your content creator archetype or what's your style category or whatever it is. I'm like diagnose me. I am someone who is a stickler for a diagnosis. I love a good diagnosis of basically putting in what I'm experiencing, what I'm going through, and saying, here's what we see within this. And so I want this next little bit here to be that for you. I want you to look to see yourself within this and say, are these things that I'm doing? Are these things I'm believing? Are these things that I'm executing? And if so, we're going to uncover where you might be misusing speed when you need patience or patience when you actually need speed. Okay. Now, first is for those of you who are patient when you actually need to be fast. And this is something that I see most commonly presenting itself more often than not in the bucket of execution. So, when someone has been working on something for what feels like forever, they're refining it, they're dialing in email sequences, they're dialing in design, they're dialing in, I just want to perfect the messaging. I want to film a little bit more videos. I want to just like kind of tweak, right? You are refining the same project, the same launch, the same pivot that you've been talking about for weeks. Sometimes I've even seen this with people and I go, hey, it's been a couple months that you've been talking about changing your content, or there's been a couple months where you've been talking about launching that offer. It's been a couple months where you've been talking about integrating a different schedule for yourself. Like, at what point here are we actually going to do this? At what point here are we going to flick the switch and really do it? And what I find is that there probably, in some regard, is a an underbelly of perfectionism. So there is kind of this root of it just feels like it's not complete. It feels like it's not perfect. It feels like it's not finished. But oftentimes you may find yourself hiding behind refining. And that's what I see is that I see a lot of people who maybe even yourself, you feel like you're like, it just needs to be refined. I got to refine the offer, refine the email sequence. It just needs a couple more tweaks. It's just not quite done. And a question I ask, and I'd ask you, is if you are someone who feels like you are oftentimes more often than not in refinement bucket, a question that I ask myself is, what does done look like? And it's a very simple question, but it's a very effective question because when we are like, it just needs a bit more, it just needs a bit more. Oftentimes, it is this belief that if we just add something, if I just change something, then it will finally be done. But oftentimes, I would probably submit that most of us don't even know what done looks like. You may not even know what the true complete of the thing you've been refining is. And then you wonder why it's taking you months to figure out this business idea or this business offer. And you're refining when you don't even know what complete looks like in the first place. So if you are someone who feels like you are constantly in refinement, um, oftentimes you can even, see this in things like delay of execution with taking weeks to respond to something that is a opportunity or, weeks to execute on an idea because the thing that I hear is, "Oh, I really wanna think about it first. I wanna think about it." And I wanna think about it is a really interesting thing to share because kind of almost if we think about it like a sales objection, I ask myself when I'm like, "I need to think about it." Well, what do you need to think about? Like, and I do this with myself. This is not just with clients. I will say, "What do you need to think about?" If I thought about launching a second business. I thought about, something I want to do with my marketing. I thought about X. I thought about Y. The question becomes, what do you need to think about? What are you thinking about? And if you don't know what it is that you need to solve for, then really what it means is we're just circling the drain with time. And so this is why when you are one of those people who has an idea or you have clarity or you have a goalpost, but you're also not pressing go on it, you're not necessarily executing on it, we want to ask, what are we needing to think about? What are we actually going to define as complete when it comes to this task so we're not in endless refinement? And the reason this is important because, if I'm going to be honest with you, there's somebody that probably has half of the expertise that you have, half of the knowledge, half of the awareness, the education. You label it how you want. And because they are faster at execution, they're winning. It's the simple way to put it. When somebody feels like they are okay with pressing go on something without the full picture complete, you will oftentimes see that they will get better results. They will get quicker results. And that's because they're not in this ruminating and refining bucket. They are 3, 2, 1, go, and they press execute and they move forward. They do not delay on things like execution, for example, of hiring or delegating, right? I see this with people who will say, oh, well, it's just faster if I do it myself. Well, yes, it is faster probably if you do it yourself this time, but it's not faster if you do it yourself for the next 72 times that you do it. So, in these moments, whether it's with marketing, offer, team, any bucket in your business, it's not a matter of in those moments about patience. It's about the fact that many of us, if we just call it what it is, we are self sabotaging our own success, our own ability to rapidly grow our business. And we're putting this beautiful window dressing or this wrapping paper on it of saying it's productivity. What you're really doing is you are someone who's postponing your potential achievement, your potential success with a lens of I'm being productive, I'm perfecting it, I'm refining it. When really what you're doing is you're retracting from what's possible for you. You're pulling yourself away from what could actually be the reality for you and for your business. And so the indicator number one is asking yourself, are you someone who's actually in these instances? And maybe as I'm saying this, you're like, ooh, I'm thinking of an offer. I'm thinking about that marketing thing I said I was going to do. I was thinking about that thing I said I'd execute or that thing I said I'd press go on, and I haven't done it yet. And I've been putting it off. I've been putting it off. Asking yourself, is it really just you saying that you're being patient? You're being patient with the launch, you're being patient with the offer, but really what you're doing is you're procrastinating. Really what you're doing is you're pushing it away. Really what you're doing is not acknowledging that this is an instance that needs speed. It doesn't require patience in this moment. Now, the second thing that I see is the total contrast, which is you are being fast in moments that you need to be patient. And I often see this most commonly, more often than not, in the bucket of results. Okay. I will tell you, I have had people that I've worked with who have hit 7 figures after 3 calls together. Okay. 3 calls with me. I've had people who've hit 7 figures. I've done it. It's possible. It's not to say that the brands I've worked with haven't had massive overnight success, but I would be lying to you if I said that that was every single client who works with me. It's not. One of the things that we know is results take time. And I think one of the most difficult things for us as entrepreneurs is that we expect that as soon as we do something, it takes off. As soon as we press go on it, of course it's going to land. Of course it's going to see results. Of course it's going to see momentum. And oftentimes, I literally see people who do something and they do it for 2 weeks. Sometimes they'll do it for 2 months and they'll look up and be like, no, it's not working. I'm scrapping it. If you went to the gym for 2 weeks and you didn't hit your goal and you're like, well, see, this gym thing doesn't work out. No, Sarah, it's not that the gym has anything wrong with it. It's the fact that you didn't go to the gym for more than 2 weeks. And then you're doing the same thing in your business. You're doing a marketing strategy. You're putting out an offer. You're, launching or rebranding. You're training a team member. You know the amount of people who will bring in a team member and that team member doesn't know within the first 2 weeks exactly how to just step into a role without help, and they're like, see, it just never works." I'm like, "It's been 2 weeks. It's been 2 months. It's been 60 days," right? Like, it's shocking to me how many of us will look up in the shortest amount of time and expect insane results when you haven't even given it time to bloom. You didn't even give it time to come to fruition. And it says, and I literally pulled a stat from this because I had to share this with you, 66% of our strategy decisions and our executions fail. 66, mark that in your brain. 66% of our strategic decisions and actions are failing because of premature abandonment and not a bad strategy. Need I repeat this? 66% of you are abandoning your idea, your strategy, your execution, i.e., the thing that could literally work and help to blow up your business. 66% of all those will fail simply based off the fact you didn't see it through. And so this is why, when people say, "Oh, it doesn't work," maybe it's not about the fact that it doesn't work, but it's about the fact that you refuse to let it have time to work. So I think about this in so many instances, like the gym, expecting results and being like, "I did 2 workouts. Where's my abs? I ate 2 healthy meals. Why have I not lost, 20 pounds? I put up 2 things of a new marketing strategy. Where's my 50 leads that I'm expecting?" Like, we need to center and ask ourselves, in what instance did we expect that the first and potentially singular time we've done something, that we expect it to overnight generate us results? And again, how many times are you abandoning something that could have worked, but you didn't see it through, simply based off the fact that it wasn't happening fast enough in your books? This is important because you may be quitting on things that are working and that could literally be your quote unquote big break, the thing that actually allows you to see the results that you want for yourself and for your business, but you just never gave them time. I think about it like someone who is planting seeds, okay? You are planting seeds in your business with your offer, with your brand, in any department you pick. You're planting seeds and you are literally planting that seed in the ground, patting it down, putting water on it, and 30 seconds later asking yourself, "Where's the plant?" It's not there because you haven't given it time to grow. And so the real entrepreneurs who are successful recognize that there are instances where if you've got, a chia pet that all of us remember as kids, you need to let that have time to grow. You need to let it have time to bloom. You come back each day after school, see how much it grew that day. The same thing is true when it comes to your business. Certain things are going to take time. You got to let them cook. You keep taking it out of the oven and wondering why it doesn't taste good. It's because you never let it time to be finished. So this looks like people who are maybe like yourself, checking things constantly. You'll put up a post with a new strategy, and within an hour, you're like, do they like it? Are they saving it? Is there profile visits? Did we get link clicks? Are people applying? And it's within like 2 hours of the thing that you've put out. Or you are seeing something that's happened for 24 hours inside your business, and you're deciding that this is the time that we should make a decision off this. This is something that we should definitely build a plan off because it's happened for 24 hours. It's not data in that sense. It's noise. It's reactive decision making. It's reactive actions. And I literally had a line here that I said to a client because she had something that she wanted to do with team and she wanted to unlock inner efficiency. And I literally wrote a quote here of what I said to her as a cue for myself. And I'm like, I really feel like everybody at some point needs to hear. It's not broken. It's only Tuesday. It's not broken. It's only insert day. It's only Tuesday. It's only Wednesday. It's only Thursday. Or i.e., if you were somebody, I can tell you that this from personal experience. If you want to do a podcast, if you are somebody who wants to have a podcast and you put out your first podcast ever and you've got your janky little webcam and your mic that you're not even sure is picking up your audio and you record your episode and you are like, okay, yes, the podcast is out to the world, and you launch that and you get 50 people who watch it and you're like, oh my God, I'm not Joe Rogan. What is going on? That's not anything wrong with your podcast. It's your first episode. So it doesn't matter whether you are a brand spanking new entrepreneur or if you are someone who's scaling at some level of your business, you're going to integrate new things. You're going to execute new things. And I think this ability to not let things breathe is actually what bottlenecks so many of us from seeing the potential that you could be seeing inside of your business today if you just let it breathe. So this also comes in when we think about results, and especially in the bucket of comparison, when you are potentially comparing your month 2 to somebody else's year 2, or your week 2 to somebody else's week 14, in whatever scale. You also want to be conscious of, what are we using as our benchmark of results? Because even when someone says, for my business, someone said to me last week, they said, Kate, I feel like you don't live on social media and I really like it. Like, I want that kind of business. And I had to be really frank with her. I said, how long have you been in business? And she was like, well, this will be coming up on 2-3 years. And she's had a lot of success. Don't get me wrong. Tons of success for 2-3 years. But I said, I'm going to be honest. I've been in business for 8 years. So where I'm at in 8 years and what I'm doing is not how I built my business. Like, I lived on social media when I was building my business. And that's because it was effective. It did what I needed it to do, which is it was getting me results. So if you are somebody who's watching someone and you're thinking, why am I not there? Why do I not have those results? Why do I not have that reality? I also want you to ask yourself a question. How long has that person been in business? How long have they been building brand? How many posts do they have on the internet? How many testimonials and clients have they helped? Because the reality is, all of those factors are ingredients that are going to contribute to somebody having different results in a different reality. It's like, this week am, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, it's making it real. I am joining a CrossFit gym this week. My girlfriend Kelsey and I actually, like a year ago, decided that we wanted to do a high rocks. And am I in shape for a high rocks? No, no. I am not in shape for high rocks. But I was okay. Well, how am I going to get in shape? I'm going to think my way into shape. I need to go get around people who do the exact same workouts that I need to do this high rocks. And so on Tuesday this week, I will be going and starting CrossFit multiple times a week. Have I done CrossFit? No. Am I probably going to eat dirt and fall on the ground? Yeah. But the thing that I recognize is, I'm not going to go in and see the girl doing muscle ups and doing crazy deadlifts and all these things and be like, well, why am I not doing that? Because you just got here. You literally got your membership today. She's been coming for the last 6 years. We need a reference point also when we're looking at the speed of how fast we expect to get to where we want to go. Are we considering the factors that go into somebody's results? Are we considering the reality of what it takes to get the results that we're expecting? And it's something that I think about. There's a million ways you can phrase it. People always say, you got to let it cook. You got to let it cook is one of the phrases. But it really is, for me, I think in my mind, about reps. And I think about how many reps I can get in something before I actually say it's good or it's bad. So even with this podcast, my initial episodes, the lighting was something I found on YouTube, and I didn't have any understanding of technology. I was like, this plug fits in this hole. Hopefully this works. Okay. And my team can attest to that. It's been a journey with our technology. But when I first started, my videos, transparently, if you go back to episode 1 of Ambitious, were kind of giving hostage video in a basement. Like, they weren't the caliber that I would expect for myself. But here's the thing, it was my first podcast. It was my first ever video. So I now have great lights and I have a great, system, and I have great technology and I have all these beautiful things now, but I didn't have that then because it was episode 1. We are now into our 100 episodes, and this is where, again, refinement comes in. But I didn't beat myself up at the time. I was having a blast because I was like, "Hey, like, these are my janky little lights." And I got, a random curtain off the internet and a rod, and I put it up and I thought, "Okay, well, here we go." And I didn't judge myself because I recognized that it was, again, a reps thing. I don't get to refine or to criticize myself until I actually have reps to say that the caliber of output that I'm looking for should be different. So I want you to ask yourself, where are you comparing? Where are you right now seeing somebody who has way more reps than you and saying, I should have their results? Also, where are you right now expecting to see in 1 week, in 2 weeks, results of something that just might take 2 months or, frankly, 2 years? Where are you expecting to see results in something that aren't really realistic? Because you're like, no, like I'm a hustler. I collapse timelines. Listen, ditto, ditto. I built a 7-figure business in 18 months. But the reality is, I didn't push myself to be like, it should be happening faster. It's already happening fast enough. It happened in 18 months. It takes sometimes people multiple years or a decade to do that. Or some people never achieve it at all. So it's grounding yourself in reality while also remaining ambitious. And again, it's this duality of these two pieces that need to coexist. The third thing we have to realize is that sometimes we're also patient with things that we shouldn't be patient with. Meaning, there are things that right now you are being patient with that you should have cut yesterday from your business. One of the key ones that I see with this one, and I'm sorry if this lands for you, but the reality is it's probably the most common of anything I hear, is team members. Unfortunately, you are keeping people or things in your business right now that are not serving you. You probably, even if you looked, have evidence to say and data to say that the thing that you're keeping is, from a data perspective, not serving you. It's not getting you an outcome. It's not generating anything. And yet, we're keeping it. So, one of the things that I see is when people keep things in the business, they keep team members, they keep strategies, they keep things they're executing with full evidence, awareness, and data that it's not doing anything for them, that it's not generating anything for the business. So if you are someone keeping a team member, if you are also somebody, and this is also potentially going to land, where you're keeping an offer that really is not working. Like, I had a conversation with someone last week and she was saying, I have to keep this offer. And I said, okay, well, let's talk about it. If you have to keep that offer, how many people have inquired about that offer in the last like 30, 60 days? Nobody. And I was like, okay, how much are we paying the team member for that offer? And so she shared. And so I said, let me get this straight. We have had zero interest in that offer for 60, potentially 90 days. And yet we're paying someone to sit in that seat waiting for someone to come for a quarter almost, right? Like it's like this belief of oh well, I'm just going to keep selling it because I believe in it. It should have been gone yesterday. It's not a matter of patience, it's the fact that there's no demand for it. Or there's people who have offers that even are making money. They are offers that people want. They are things that, your audience is consuming. Like for example, I had an agency that came to me and they were saying, oh, we have lots of demand for this price point. And they had been charging probably around $1,500 for something that they were offering. And so I remember thinking, well, why are we still offering that? We know we're not making money on it, meaning that we know the margins are not good for a done for you service at $1,500 a month. We know there's not a lot of margins there. We know that it's not quite giving you what you're looking for. We know you don't want to be working with that caliber of package anymore. Why are we keeping that? They're like, oh, well, it's selling. Okay. But if it's selling, why are we keeping that package? Why are we keeping that price point when we know we don't want it and we keep selling it? It makes no sense. And so when we started to unpack it, it was draining them. It was attracting the wrong people. It was keeping us positioned within that business as something that they wanted to leave behind like a year earlier. They wanted to have minimum packages starting at $3,000, and yet we're still selling packages at $1,500. Why was that? It's because they were like, "Oh, well, we're just going to be patient with the transition." I said, "Patient with the transition? It's been a year and a half. We got to cut this. We got to remove the offer and remove what I consider to be like the back door of comfort that is keeping you where you are." I had another agency that I was supporting who had a team member, and I said, "How do you feel about this team member? Are they providing? Are they getting results?" And we started to ask and audit these questions. And they were like, "No, like we really do need to get somebody else in." And I asked a simple question. I said, "How long have you known that?" And they're like, probably like 9 months now." 9 months. 9 months. They knew they need to let someone go. And so I said to them, "Here's my rule. If you know that someone is not a good fit for the business and you know that you do not need this person anymore inside your business, you tell them now. You get a replacement and you tell them now." Because looking at time's going to fix this. Here's my rule. If time was going to fix something and patience alone was what you needed to succeed, you would be able to see at a minimum micro momentum happening over time where you would see different results that are happening with time, right? So if it's like patience was needed, we would see momentum. If we are putting patience and therefore allowing time to pass, but we're not seeing any shift of momentum, it really means that we have our head in the sand and we're not looking to actively acknowledge the reality of what's in front of us. Lastly, is speed when it comes to identity shifts, but you're slow when it comes to the behavior that you need to match it. Okay. So a lot of you will say, "I want to be a CEO." You probably tell yourself, "I want to operate like a CEO. I want to operate in this higher level identity," right? We've talked about identity. We talk about the fact of like operating in the future you, stepping into that future version of yourself, looking at who we want to become and how we want to be showing up. But then at the same time we're saying that, we're like, "Yeah, I want to be like quick, like step into this person, step into this new identity, step into this new version of me." At the same time, you are also answering all your DMs. You are also the person editing all of your own content. You are also the person who is taking clients at a lower rate because, just in case, or I want to try to help as many people as I can. You're still the person who's doing and holding and managing so much. So, yes, on one hand, you've got the speed of integration of like, "I want to be this identity." But for some reason, you've got such a slow pace, a patience that's coming in with how quick you're actually integrating the behaviors that are needed for that identity to truly take shape. And so the identity is moving fast, but your behavior is moving slow. So, when you are doing internal work, identity work, that's actually what's going to move slower, right? It's not like when you are on a Tuesday and you're a certain kind of person that you wake up on Thursday and all of a sudden you're somebody else. Inner work, the identity work that is needed to evolve yourself does take time. Now, it's not to put a time cap on it to say it has to take you 2 years to reinvent yourself. I've seen people who've completely reinvent themselves in 3 to 6 months. Like they dive right in and they do that work. But that work still is a process. But truthfully, the thing that actually generated the biggest amount of their results and the biggest impact of what they saw happen was the fact that their behavior, the speed of their behavior matched. The speed of their behavior showed up to match the identity of the person that they wanted to call in. So it's not just thinking yourself quickly to this person and then letting all your behaviors stay the same. It's actually slowly letting yourself get closer and closer to this identity and as fast as possible aligning your behaviors to the version of yourself that you want to become. So if we know that we have this speed and patience, why do we struggle with this? Where does this come from? Why do we get stuck making these, mistakes or these behaviors and allowing these to continue? And there's a couple core places where these are rooted from. And these really helped me to kind of give myself, I guess I would say, a little bit of grace to recognize and rewrite this relationship between speed and patience, speed and patience. The first thing you have to recognize is that you built your business on speed, right? Like we know, and again, that classic line of like success loves speed. We know that speed is something that is an indicator and a follower of success. And oftentimes, when you were starting your business, it worked. It generated the results you were looking for. It actually allowed you to see momentum all the way until it didn't, which is when speed was no longer actually the single driver of what was going to get you the outcomes. You can be scrappy in certain seasons of your business. You can be really innovative, fast, speed. All of that definitely does have a place. But the pace that you go to hit your first 10K month is not the same speed of execution or speed of thought process or scrappiness that you're going to integrate when you want to go to, for example, 50K months, right? Or 100K months, 150K months. The 10K version of speed is not the same 10K version of speed when you're looking to build a seven-figure business. And that's because when you just have this scrappiness, you just are like, okay, like this goes here, this goes here, this goes here. What you actually do is you create a mess. At the beginning, you could be scrappy because it was just you. Maybe you had like a VA that was helping you. But when you are scrappy and frankly messy, and you have a team that is part of your structure, what you're doing indirectly is you're creating a mess of a structure for other people to need to operate in. So you think you're going a million miles an hour, but what you're really doing is you're knocking stuff over every step you take. And I hear this more often than not from people who are inside of other people's businesses. I work with teams. And so they'll come to me and say something to the effect of like, oh my God, Kate, on the weekend, and they're talking about the CEO, went in and she did this to our ClickUp and she did this to our structure and she did this to our strategy and she literally unraveled the entire thing. So the team's getting frustrated because the person is going in and literally creating a disaster inside of the business because they're like, oh yeah, speed, speed, speed. But the speed actually collapses the structure that they built. So when you are trying to build a seven-figure business, what I want you to recognize is that you are trying to build a skyscraper. You are trying to build one of the most beautiful large buildings that is going to stand tall and strong in a gorgeous structure. You're not going to use the exact same tools to build a skyscraper, i.e., a seven-figure business, that you're going to for the first house you built. It requires different structure, it requires different tools, and it requires a different level of intention strictly based off size of what it is that you're creating. So speed, yes, did get you here in your business, but discernment around what needs speed and what needs slow is actually what's going to get you to seven figures because scrappiness can actually unravel scaling when it's done in ways or places that it is not supportive. So every time that you slow down, if you feel like this is not strategic for me to slow down, I got to go faster, I got to go faster. What that truthfully is, I'm going to be honest, is your nervous system is lying to you. You have a nervous system that's been built off more, fast, 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 speed, speed, speed. But what really is ultimately at the center or the root of that is that it's lying to you. It's based off you knowing that you built everything with speed. So, of course, it's more speed to grow, and it's not. So, I want you to think about the fact that if you are slowing down in the way, I'm not saying, by the way, that like lackadaisical kind of like, oh, yeah, like the business will scale itself. We're not talking not working hard. I want to be very clear. I'm talking about not being messy with speed. You're being intentional and strategic with speed. So, again, slowing down a little bit to speed up, you're not falling behind, okay? This is not a matter of you, slowing down and feeling like, well, why am I slowing down? Why am I slowing down? Because you're graduating in the model that you're using to grow your business. You're graduating in the approach that you need to take if you really want to see this business grow. The second reason that we do this is because you sometimes, in the same vein, will associate that if we are patient, we are passive. Okay. You believe that if you are being more patient in your business, that you connect that with being more passive in your approach. You reject patience entirely because you are not the kind of person who just sits around and waits for results and waits for outcomes, right? You believe so confidently that you are not the kind of person who's patient because you don't sit around waiting for outcomes. And you know what? You're probably right. You don't sit around waiting for outcomes. Patience is not waiting. Patience is not sitting on your hands and hoping for results to appear. It's executing at a very high level while also having a deep, deep level of trust that those results that are going to come from the action are going to be a compound effect. One of the things that you have to know if you are scaling a business is that results are sometimes going to come from things that you're building and you can't even see them building at the rate you want to. So, like, okay, even for example, for this podcast, right? When someone has a podcast, one of the best pieces of advice that I ever was given is someone said, put your head down and don't look up to say, okay, it's working or it's not working. Don't even evaluate it. You can refine it. You can look at how can we try to make a better topic? How can we structure them better? How can we edit them better? That's fair. You can 100% make sure to look to refine over time. We're not, again, saying sit on our hands and don't do anything and don't look up. We're saying you must be patient and allow the process to compound. So I can tell you with confidence, truthfully, with like certainty, that the place my podcast is at today and where you are listening to Ambitious today is not where you're going to be 3 years from now. The experience will be different, the editing will be different, the topics will be different, the guests will be different, but that's because there's a compound effect that comes with reps. I think about the same thing like going to the gym. When you go to the gym and you have a goal of gaining muscle, you're not looking in the mirror every day saying like, okay, where's the muscle? Where's the muscle? Where's the muscle? We are going to do check-ins. You might take a picture each week, not every day. You might take a start of the month and end of the month picture. You are going to track progress, but you're going to do so in a way that makes sense for the goal. That you're not going to be looking up every 5 seconds saying, where is it? Where's the muscle? Because you recognize there's a compound effect that happens or that needs to come into effect before the muscle is going to present. And so speed is the thing that many of us get addicted to because frankly, it's a dopamine hit, right? We get this huge surge of dopamine when we feel like there's a speed between pressing a button and the result that happens. But patience is what happens when you are really being asked to do the work, to put in the reps, and to recognize that there isn't going to be this immediate reward. And for the most successful scaling entrepreneurs, it's the ability for people to put in those reps when they can't see the instant outcome right away, when they can't see the results instantaneously. They still have this deep rooted belief that the compound effect is there. They still go to the gym. They still get their shoes on every day and go for that walk. They still put in those reps. And that's because they recognize the compound effect needs time plus consistency of effort to generate that result that they desire. Now, another thing that we see is also revenue level. And sometimes when you're at a certain revenue level, the revenue level that you're at can also be the thing that cues your anxiety, your kind of surge for either needing to move or needing to be pulled back. So when you were at the beginning, you had no money, you had no results, you had no outcomes, you had no way to say like this is working. So because of that, you were like, what do I have to lose? It's literally just about speed. I just have to integrate as fast as possible. And so at the beginning, all we're doing is integrating. All we're doing is speed because we have no other choice. We're like, we got to execute as fast as possible because we have no results. But then when you make even a couple multiple six figures, or you even are in the bucket of a 7 or multiple 7-figure business, you start to get into eventually this bucket of predictability. You get into this weird, messy middle of I have just enough that I'm stable, but also I'm terrified of losing it. I see this with a lot of scaling businesses. If you are someone who's at multiple six figures, 7 or multiple 7, you have the income. Some people will have even 6 to 9 months, 2 years of cash flow that's stacked and dripped out, but they also have this deep sense of losing it all. And so there was actually a foundation that did a study on this, and they were talking about the fact that 100K a year to $1 million a year is actually seen to be the highest level of stress range within startups. So basically like non-established massive businesses. And that's because this is what's considered to be like the messy middle, where again, we have enough of that scrappiness there kind of making us feel like we could lose it all tomorrow. But then on the flip side, we also have this proof of success and outcome that's also present for us and shown within results or data. So, what happens when you're in the 6-figure to 7-figure category is that when revenue is dipping or revenue is adjusting, or you have a down month, or you have low applications or low clicks, you panic. And so you pivot. And when revenue is then up on the other side, you're coasting. So, like, if anything happens with revenue, you're like quick speed. Oh my gosh, I pivot. On the other side, you chill when you have revenue. And truthfully, neither of those is actually strategic. Both of them, if we really look at it, are fear responses. So it's a matter of saying, okay, well, how can I not just be fast when things are going down and not just be patient if things are chill? How do we have, again, that living duality of patience and speed that is there in both seasons of low cash flow and high cash flow? Both those seasons, whether you are 6 or 7-figure business, need to be present when you're trying to tackle speed and patience. They have to both exist at the same time, regardless of where your cash flow is at right now. And I think most importantly, if I could like kind of solidify it in the sense of like where this comes from, when I started to really like flush this out, I think there's not enough categorization for most people of the difference between what it means to have speed of action and what it means to have speed of execution. Okay. So moving fast, you expect results fast. That's misalignment. Just because you take action quickly does not mean that you have results quickly. So, like, your effort and your results are on completely different wavelengths, right? So, like, okay, analogy would be just because you record in one weekend 75 videos for TikTok doesn't mean your TikTok videos this week are better. It doesn't mean just because you're like reps, like you're just like pushing, 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 that simply just your effort is the thing alone that generates the results. And this is again where that kind of like scrappy startup mindset sometimes has to retire, sometimes has to get parked. And that's because if we don't, what we end up finding ourselves falling into is that we're like, well, I've been busting my butt at this. Why do I not have results with it? Effort is not the only, it is a factor in results. Don't get me wrong. It is a factor in getting the things that you want out of life, but it's not the only singular factor that's required for you to get the outcome you're looking for. So until you separate effort from results, meaning seeing that just simply the effort I put in is the only factor to getting the results I want, you are always going to feel a misalignment with your satisfaction in your business. You're always going to feel this disconnect with why am I not where I want to be. Your actions should be fast. Your results should be patient. Okay. So I almost want you to think about these like two, like picture in your mind right now, two clocks. Okay. So one clock is going at rapid speed and the other one is going at a slower tick. Your actions can be fast. You can be pushing out those reps, right? So you can be really intentional about the actions that you're taking. But the reality is that the results clock, the thing that's actually moving from an outcome or a results perspective, may need or require more patience from you. And running both at the same setting of like fast, fast, fast is typically why people want to give up. And I see this when anyone executes something as a new strategy. You integrate some new strategy, whether it's with an email list, with your social media, with a new offer, you integrate this thing that's new and you do it for such a short amount of time because again, you equate my intensity is just as important as my consistency. So therefore, where's my outcome? Meaning you just completely remove the impact of the compound effect. And so you go, well, it's not working. It's not getting results. So you give up. Or worse, sometimes people do this and have this expectation for so long that they experience very high levels of burnout. So I want to ask you some questions, okay, for you to reflect on this for yourself. What have you been working on for the last 30 days that could be executed this week if you actually committed to it? Just take 30 seconds and name that thing. What's something you've been working on for the last 30 days that if you really got intentional with yourself, that you could probably execute this week? What's that thing? You know it off the top of your brain. And with this, tell yourself the truth. Why is it still sitting there? Why is it not out? Why is it not launched? Why is it not posted? Why is it not shared? Why is that person not hired, not fired? Why has it not happened? Second question is, what did you abandon in the last 6 months? Not because it was wrong, because you felt it wasn't working fast enough. Okay, so what's something you did in the last, say, 6, maybe 12 months where you let go of it, not because it was wrong, but because you felt like it didn't happen fast enough? Now ask yourself, was it really not aligned, or did you just simply lose patience? Question 3, where are you tolerating a slow bleed that you already know is not working? You know what it is. And the question I want you to ask yourself is, why are you still allowing it? Strategy that you're executing, the thing in your business that you're like, I am doing this and I fully know this offer, this marketing channel, this strategy I'm doing. Sometimes, truthfully, even the coach you're working with, the program that you're in, the support that you're getting in some regard. You're like, I literally know this isn't working. I've been doing this forever. And I just feel like I'm not seeing any movement, no clarity, no level of momentum. Why are you still allowing it? Why are you still maintaining it? When did you last make a decision off of a short 24-hour or 48-hour snapshot instead of something that was 30 or 60 or 90 days of data? Are you running a business or are you reacting to one? And lastly, are you more afraid of being patient or are you more afraid of speed and being fast? Whichever one of those, whether it's patience or speed, scares you the most, that's typically actually where the growth for your business is hiding, by the way. So remember we talked about the 2 clocks? I want to give you something that you can do tactically with these clocks to help you to start to flex this muscle, okay? So this is really, really easy, simple 3 steps, but something that you can do. Mentally, separate your clocks. Separate the 2 sides of a speed list and a patience list, okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to literally think it's all about the right energy and the right place. So you can literally put this into a Google Doc, you do it in notes on your phone. And what I want you to do is I want you to first look at, literally think about like dividing a paper or having 2 lists on this paper. One is speed and one is patience. So on your speed list, these are things that you are committing to with a 48-hour execution window. So decisions that you've been sitting on, hires that you need to be making, content that you need to be putting out, problems that you need to remove, opportunities that are just yes or a no and you're done. What are those things that you could put on your speed list that you could easily tackle, handle, and make happen in the next 48 hours? Now, on the contrast, you have a patience list, which are things that are 90 days of minimum commitment. So, your audience growth, your content, and the way that you're allowing it to compound into results, a new offer and putting that out to the market, developing your team or training your team, your reputation being built, right? So, what I want you to do is I want you to think about having a speed list, 48 hours, having a patience list that requires a 90-day minimum commitment before assessing results. Okay. What you can do is each Monday review these and go through and say, does this really belong on this list? So the things that you're expecting speed, speed, speed in, are they something that you actually can do in 48 hours that you're expecting that fast of a result? Or do they really potentially better live on the page of patience because they just do need more time to breathe and to allow those to grow. Signs that you are making progress is if you are someone who feels like your decision fatigue is dropping, you feel like you're no longer second guessing yourself, you feel like you know exactly what clock you're supposed to be focused on with a given task or a given thing that you're doing, you will start to feel the calm that comes with really making sure you are evaluating your goals and what you're working on in an intentional way. And most importantly, what we want to do in step 3. So again, step 1, visualize your 2 clocks. Step 2, get your speed list and your patience list out onto paper and put your notes underneath one of those so you can really anchor in the results you should be expecting. And third, you want to install the 48-hour execution rule, which is really the phrase I think about is you decide and you move, decide and move, decide and move. Once you make a decision, and I mean any decision, you have 48 hours to take the first concrete action, not think more, not research more, not put it on a list, not do and ruminate on like what it could be and maybe it's this and maybe it's that. I mean take action. I mean take a step. I mean integrate something. If you've made a decision, do something about it. Even if the decision is to not do something about it, meaning say you had this idea that you were going to start a blog, let's just say, and you're like, well, I've decided I'm not doing that. Great. Then remove it from the vision board, remove it and put it off till Q4. Remove this and take an action to delete that from your list of priorities. Take an action that is in line and in accordance with the goals that you're setting for yourself and the decisions you're making. I'm going to give you some examples. Hiring a VA, go post a job listing. Don't talk about the fact you need help. Don't ruminate on the fact you need help. Don't think about the fact that you need help. Go to Claude, say, I need a job listing for XYZ. These are the specs. It will help you to create a posting. Get that out in the next 48 hours. If you are raising your prices, stop talking about raising your prices. Stop saying, I really should increase my rates. I really, at some point this year, need to increase my prices. You need to stop talking about it. You need to stop ruminating and thinking on it. You need to go do it. You got to go do it. So one of the things you can do is literally if you have a package and proposal guide, go and update the prices on it. Your prices are changed now. When you go to your website, if you have your prices there, update your prices on your website. They're updated now. Update your checkout links. Take a step to actively make an action to decide the thing that you wanted to do is actually coming to fruition. We're doing this. Also, killing an offer. Email your email list and say, we're killing it. Put it out on social media. Hey guys, this offer is dead now. We're not doing this any longer. Here's why. Right? Like take a bold stance, take an action towards claiming this offer is genuinely not coming around anymore. It's finished. And launching a podcast. I've seen a lot of people are like, oh man, like I've been thinking about launching a podcast. I've been thinking about having a podcast. Go ahead, go to Amazon. This is what I did. When I decided that I was doing a podcast, I was like, great, I'm going to go order the microphone. And what I did, which is part of, I've mentioned this story before. I had really janky setup for my podcast originally. It's better now. I went on YouTube and I literally searched. I was like, okay, I am sick and tired of myself talking about this podcast and thinking about this podcast. We're doing this thing. So I went on social media and I went on YouTube and I literally searched YouTube podcast studio tech Amazon. And whoever was the first video that came up, I don't even remember who it was. I literally took that video underneath. They're like, hey guys, I've hyperlinked all of the tech that I have. I'm like, beautiful. I added all of that to cart. I think at the time it was probably $1,200. And I added that to cart and I got it all delivered to my house. And basically within a short amount of time, I was recording episodes. It wasn't like when I really decided to have the podcast, because before that I was sick of thinking about it. I was literally in this whole I need to map out the ideal client and the target audience and the messaging. And I'm like, get real with yourself. You need to get a microphone and get talking and actually talk about what it is that you know. And it's not even going to be good for the first 20 to 50 to 100 episodes anyway. Put your head down, get to work, and you can look up later and refine it then. And that's what we did. And I'm very grateful that I did. So if you want to do something, 3, 2, 1, go. What is the thing that you need to do? So I want to ask you a question right now. What is something that you know you need to do, that you want to do, that you've been talking about doing, that you've been thinking about integrating? Can you make a promise to yourself right now that you are going to do something in the next 48 hours to press go? Anything. Take an action toward it. That is what builds momentum to the business that you actually want for yourself. The other thing we also want to remember is that any decision that we make is also a two-way door. Okay? This is a swinging door. Anything that you do, if you're like, well, I'm scared to press go on this quickly, or I'm scared to do this quickly, everything is reversible. If you're like, hey, I updated my prices on my website and then they weren't closing. So I decided that I want to reduce them by $1,000. Go for it. Like, it doesn't mean also that by taking some action that you are stuck in this forever. So they're not permanent. And truthfully, the cost of an action is always going to be more impactful than the person who is going to experience the cost of imperfect action. Inaction is always going to cost more than imperfect action. Every single time. Doesn't matter what it is. And so you don't need more time to think about everything. You oftentimes need less time between what you think and what you're doing. And so, if you are someone who is going to execute this 48-hour rule, you're going to see that the execution gap of stuff that used to take you months now will sometimes take you days because you've decided and you've committed to doing it. You are going to also feel this relief in decisions. You're going to make decisions quicker and faster and integrate quickly. And you also are going to, which was my biggest, I would say, like clarity point, is like I started to actually trust myself. I started to actually feel like I was someone who kept the commitments and the words that I would say to myself. Like, I was like, I am keeping commitments to me. This is something that shows me not only can I trust my business, but I trust me to lead the business, because if we're going to do it, we're doing it. And if we're going to be patient about it, we're going to be patient about it. And here's something I also want to add for any of you who have team. It is your responsibility to take this mindset of patience and speed and translate that to your team. Meaning, if there's something that someone's doing and they're perfecting and refining and dialing it in, and you're going, why are we doing this? 3, 2, 1, go, put it out, right? Help your team to flex that muscle. Help your team to have permission that it doesn't need to be perfect in order to do it. On the contrast, you also need to lead by example with your team and helping them to understand that certain things require patience. Anybody that helps, for example, with this podcast, I was fully, clear at the beginning. I was like, guys, we're not going to be expecting to be like the Joe Rogan of our category in 6 months. Like, it's not realistic. We recognize that things like a YouTube or a podcast are a plant seeds and nurture them to grow. It's not a virality hack, which means that I had to transfer to the people that work with the podcast to say, yes, we want to see momentum. Yes, we want to see growth. But there's not this pressure coming from me of like, we need to blow up tomorrow. What's going on? And that's because I know certain parts in my business where I'm like, we need to see this happen fast. And I also have parts in my business where I recognize things require patience. So if you are someone yourself who doesn't have this clarity, do not blame your team when they are being patient on things you want speed, or when they're expecting speed on things you actually kind of see needing patience. That comes down to you really setting the frame and leading from the front on where they should be evaluating what things in the sense of results, or also in an aspect of execution. So today I wanted to talk about this because so many of us, including myself, you want your goals quickly. You want results fast. You want momentum. You want outcomes. You want to see this movement in the direction that you're looking for it. But the thing we want to recognize is it is this, I want you to almost think like gas brake, right? So we have gas brake, gas brake. You can't just throttle the whole time on the gas. You have to have moments of braking or you crash. On the contrast, if you're just hovering that brake and the entire time you're pressing on the brake, you're also not moving anywhere. So it's the same thing with your business. If you're all gas, that's a problem. If you're all brake, that's a problem. The most successful entrepreneurs that scale are the people who have duality of knowing when to gas brake, when to push for speed in the business, and also when to be a little bit more patient in the different things they're executing and the results that they're expecting. So, what I want you to do is I want you to take a piece of this, whether it is the speed bucket or the patience bucket. I want you to pick one thing. Pick one thing in each category. What's one thing that you have not been patient with that you're going to start to be patient with because you recognize that if you're honest, it requires it? And on the flip side, what is something that maybe you haven't been as fast with, you haven't been as speedy with, that you really want to challenge yourself to 3, 2, 1, go and press go on in the next 48 hours? Pick one of those and get to work. This is something that, again, speaking of speed, I don't want you to think about. I don't want you to ruminate on today's topic. I don't want you to think to yourself, well, yeah, that was an interesting perspective. I want you to go and to actually start to put this into practice within either your personal goals or also within your business. Most importantly, I want to say thank you so much for spending the last hour with me and diving into this with me. If anything lands for you, if you're feeling like you're just having a light bulb, you're kind of having this aha moment, realizing I am way too much in the speed bucket and I think it's causing me to go crazy. Or I feel like I'm living in the patience bucket and I'm playing small and I need to go faster. I would love for you to share. What's the one that resonates with you? What's the thing that you feel like this is the muscle I want to flex? I can't tell you guys enough how much it means to have those of you who reach out in the DMs. One of the things that I often talk about that was huge for my journey is being witnessed in transformation, which basically means that you don't just have this aha moment by yourself, but you're witnessed in the aha moment and how impactful that really is to your overall growth. So if you are someone who wants to be witnessed in this clarity and know that someone else sees you in executing this, I want to invite you to just shoot me a message, send me a DM. I always love hearing from you, your shares, your questions, your comments, just anything that lands those aha moments. And to be able to chat about what you're loving diving into when it comes to ambitious. So my DMs are always open. I'd love to chat with you. But with all that being said, you have some work to do. So I will let you get to that and I will see you on next week's episode. And as always, stay ambitious.